Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I'd like to have a more serious conversation about the future, what it is I am looking to accomplish, and whether or not I should be a part of trying to accomplish these goals at this point in time. Whether or not my involvement would be a positive or a negative to what I overall want to see accomplished. If you take a look at this YouTube channel and you go back 8 years to the first year of video creation that I did, I think it's clear to most people that this was not a channel that was being done as a job. It's not a channel that was being done with the goal of being a living, with the goal of getting, thousands of subscribers, much less millions. The production quality of the videos were horrible. The camera being used was an obsolete 2009 Android phone that I would usually duct tape to the back of a book and then stand up. It was, there was no script to the videos. There was no special editing. Often there was no editing at all. And the content was pretty much me at the end of a day just talking about whatever there was to discuss at the end of the day. I found it to be a useful outlet. At the time, I remember paying for a useless therapist that was actually talking about his Windows 8 audio driver issues. And at some point, I realized I'm giving you $200. Like I might as well just talk into a camera, and a dialogue started. And the dialogue started with stuff in the repair industry, parts, small business stuff, and eventually kind of turned into the right to repair stuff where we were discussing what it is that makes this type of business difficult. I don't think that I am a good activist, nor was it ever really my plan to be an activist for anything or to call attention to anything. I thought in the very beginning that there would be no more than an absolute max of 200 to 300 subscribers. Max, like best case scenario, that there were probably 200 or 300 other people out there in the United States or in the world that ran similar repair shops to mine, that had a similar target client base and similar problems that may want to listen to me. And if 100% of those wanted to listen to me, I maybe get 200 or 300 subscribers. That was. So what's occurred over the past several years is something that I'm still trying to absorb and understand because, frankly, I don't get a lot of it at all. But the reality of the situation is that the concept of right to repair is inextricably linked to the name Louis Rossmann. When people think of right to repair, they think about companies going out of their way to make a product difficult to repair. When they think about a company going out of their way to design a product to be impossible to repair or keep manufacturers from being able to sell the parts to independent service centers or customers, in comment sections across the internet, news articles everywhere, my name winds up showing up there, even if I'm not being discussed. This is not something that I aimed for. This is not something I ever imagined would happen, but it is the case that my name has become inextricably linked with this issue. Now, I think in many ways this may actually be a bad thing because, as I have explained in many of my videos, I am not a socially comfortable person, not comfortable going to parties and, giving fist bumps to all these new people. I'm not someone that has a particularly likable personality. I'm not someone that I think is good at creating speeches or getting my point across on camera in a way that has broad appeal to large swaths of society. I often don't understand how the way I word things is going to come across to people beforehand until long after I've offended large swaths of people. And I don't think that this is something that I should be doing. I don't feel like a natural activist in any way, shape, or form. Yet, for some reason, the way that I explain things or the way that I describe the issues that I describe is such that it has gotten across to a very large audience to the point of my name being linked with this. And sometimes I'll have people that tell me, I don't think this is the way that you should go about it. And when I speak to them and ask them, okay, what have you been doing? I'll speak to people that are doing this damn near professionally that say, you shouldn't say this in a hearing. This is not the way to get this person's attention. And they will have sometimes 6 to 8 subscribers on the platform that they're using when they're speaking about the same issues. And it's that point that I realize I don't know what it is that I'm doing, but whatever it is that I'm doing is getting people to actually listen, to be interested in an issue that would otherwise likely put them to sleep listening to alongside. Just your typical, well, this is something that's wrong and this is what we're doing to try to fix it kind of thing. And I think that it's important that I capitalize on that, while at the same time understanding that there are negative things that are going to come from this. So I'll just link to a couple of threads and examples down below. For the last 5 or 6 years on Reddit and many other forums, anytime right to repair stuff comes up, I'll comment, I'll engage, I'll go back and forth. And in the beginning, back in 2015, 16, and even 17, probably not as much 16, probably 2015 and 16, I would often be engaging back and forth on the issues of right to repair. Here are some misconceptions. Here's that, this, that, and the other. And nowadays, it really often is me going back and forth on issues of me. Well, you said that, and it's not true. And I'll go, well, if you look at it this way, it is. Or you said this, and it's like, well, no, I didn't say that. And I'm going back and forth on issues of me. And one of the things that I've realized, and this is something that I do very much, is that I hear the names of certain people, and immediately many hundreds of thoughts come into my head. Emotions, thoughts, aggravations, things to be happy for, things to be sad for. So when I say words like Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Proud Boys, there are certain images, there are certain ideas, there are certain underlying pieces of political and cultural and personality baggage that goes along with those names and those things, to the point where even if someone says something that may actually make sense, may be correct, you are immediately, in a way, programmed to disagree with it because you dislike the way they present it, you dislike the way they have presented other things in the past, or you simply dislike them as a person, and sometimes maybe there's good reason to. And I worry that this is where things are going with me. You know, there's this idea very often, which is if only you had said something in this way, I would have listened. But you said it in this way, so I'm not. I hear this a lot with a lot of hot button political issues where people say, you know, I'd be more sympathetic to it, I'd be on their side if they said it this way versus that way. Which is why I try to modulate my tone at times so that I don't immediately come off as someone that people are going to ignore. Yet at the same time, one of the things that I've noticed is people often get to the point of having the tone that they do because nobody cares prior. So, for instance, there was one particular individual in the industry that did not like the way that I had talked about one particular lobbyist. And they said, you know, you may have actually gotten something passed if you did not speak or say this one particular thing. When I said the particular thing that I said, millions of people viewed these particular videos and were aware of what was going on. And then said, wait, why is this a thing? Or oh my God, companies try to stop you from fixing things, and then they learn something, and it got somewhere. Yet when that particular individual was to discuss the topic, every time I could find an example of it, there would be 3 views, 7 views, 8 views, 10 views, 2 views. And he would talk very, very, very prim and proper, but it wouldn't get anywhere. One of the examples that I brought up to him was 3 years ago, before I had actually publicly spoken at any sort of Senate or congressional or legislative body before I had ever spoken in front of one, I was actually scheduled to speak to a particular senator behind closed doors, along with a farmer named Kenny and several other people. He canceled the meeting. And when you look at followthemoney.org, we were able to find out that that particular senator had received a donation of over $3,000 from one of the opposition lobbyists right around the time that he canceled the meeting. One of the things that I've learned is while you do indeed need to ensure that you have a tone that does not put people off, at the same time, when you have a tone that's too proper all the time, and when you're not passionate about the issues you speak about, you wind up getting completely steamrolled and ignored. And one of the things that I have found is that it is often the people that want to see you fail, that want to see you go away, that are encouraging you to not speak up, to not speak strongly about the issues that you believe in, because that's exactly what's required for them to be out of the public eye and under the rug where corruption can continue to occur and the status quo can be maintained. Why do I bring this up? Well, I've always kind of been doing what I've been doing here with a shoestring budget. Again, people have this idea that I get all these sponsorships and all this crap off of YouTube. Good, over 70% of my audience uses AdBlock. I'm not running an asset genie here. This is a repair shop that at its absolute peak got to 20 employees. Now we're back down closer to the 13 or 15 again. This is really the way, I run a basic store. I'm not a multi-millionaire. When I travel to these hearings, I'm pretty much traveling with this camera. When I'm discussing and doing what I'm doing it with I'm promoting right to repair the best way that I know how, showing people how to fix these products, discussing what I go through on everyday basis as a business owner, and really just trying to kind of humanize the craft by showing you that the people working on this stuff are not these shade tree mechanics looking to rip everybody off. They're just normal people. But I'm doing this as for the most part, a regular person. Now, someone called me up over the summer and asked, just out of sheer curiosity, what would you do if you had an actual budget? What would you do if you had money? And I gave some ideas, I gave some thoughts, and I'm like, but that's not really in the cards. And they're like, well, what if you had it? And it's like, yeah, but I don't. And then he said, well, what if I would be willing to give X? Now, I've had lots of people reach out who watch my show on YouTube and tell me these things, and I'm used to. Let's just say I've worked in the music industry before I got into this. I'm used to people blowing smoke up my ass. I'm used to those people that pretend they know all these people and pretend they're big shots when they're actually not. And then I Googled this one person's name, and then I saw a bunch of SEC filings, and then I looked more into it, and it's like, okay, all right, you actually do got the amount of money that you claim that you. And this is, still a work in progress. We're still, dotting the I's, crossing the T's and everything. But there is a good chance, if things go well, that this whole promoting right to repair thing is not simply going to be Lewis traveling around with, his girlfriend and carrying the camera bag and testifying on the 23rd in this state and on the 24th in that state, not having time to even iron his shirt as he runs off the plane to get to the Augusta, Maine government house in time. There'll be an actual organization behind it that can actually do something. I don't mean the type of activism where they open up a website and they have a little email form and they get a soundbite in a newspaper once every 2 years. I mean something that could actually do something for the industry and lobby for change in a meaningful way for users, repair shops, and people everywhere. And this is something that I think could have the potential to really change the world. The question is, should I be involved? This is a question that I'm asking because I actually want to see right to repair happen, not simply something that occurs legislatively. I want this to be something that is brought back to our culture again, to where people in the U.S. and across the world, regardless of political party, religion, affiliation, any of the culture war shit, regardless of what side you are and any of that, one of the things that we all share is the ability, desire, and understanding that we should be able to fix the devices that we own. I want to actually create a real culture shift. The problem is my name too tarnished now to actually accomplish that? Would it be better if someone else were actually the face of all of this? If someone else had that opportunity to do all of this, to get right to repair to the next step? Should I be the one that takes this opportunity, assuming it actually all goes through, and tries to move right to repair the next step forward? Or was it my job to get right to repair to where it is, to where people understand that it's an issue, and now we have someone that's actually a professional activist that is good with PR, that knows how to talk to people, that isn't an asshole from New York City that wears an Under Armour shirt with his girlfriend's plushies that she won off of some video game behind him while he's doing a serious video, to finish and get it across the finish line. Because here's the thing. This is an issue that I really do care about. This industry is an industry that took me from living in a place filled with termites, where I couldn't even afford the rent in the place filled with termites or to feed myself, to the point of having a staff of anywhere from 10 to 20 employees at any given time that I can actually pay something decent to, and it allowed me to have a dignified life. It allowed me to have a sense of purpose. It allowed me to help a lot of customers that otherwise would have not been helped or felt like they were absolutely screwed and down on their luck when they needed something to work. And I enjoy that. And I want to see as many people as humanly possible in the next generation be able to take advantage of the opportunity that I was able to take advantage of. I don't want that to be taken away. And it's important enough to me as an issue that if me not being involved in it would actually make things go better, then by all means, I would be happy to have that opportunity passed on to someone else. But if you think that I would do a good job, if you think that if I change a couple of things about how I present myself, how I present the issues, and how I move on going forward, now that it's not, Lewis talking into a camera, Lewis ranting about whatever he's ranting about that day to 5 or 10 subscribers, Lewis talking to tens of millions of people as the professional face of a movement, then I'll stay. But if you think someone else would be better fit for this, or that I have gotten to that point where when my name is mentioned, there is immediately a negative connotation, and that negative connotation will negatively affect right to repair, then I'll happily step aside. And this is something that I've been milling with internally for a while. It does take time to set up these types of organizations. It takes time to set up these types of 501c3s and get everything going. It's not as simple as just incorporating a corporation. And it takes time to organize things. So this is something that's going to be on my mind for quite a while. But I wanted to get input from all of you before I continue moving forward with everything. I genuinely appreciate the people that have helped me as far as they have, people who have let people in their lives know that why right to repair stuff is a problem. I used to, from 2015 to the end of 2019, all of the traveling was done on my dime. I had opened up a Patreon earlier in the year because at some point I actually got to spending like $5 or $6K a month on this stuff. And a lot of you put into that, and I genuinely appreciate it. Even, just because we weren't able to pass a bill, just because I was traveling to speak to politicians who are listening to lobbyists more than us, that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate what you've done. And I kind of wish I could still do the traveling right now, but yeah, with the whole COVID stuff, that's just not in the cards. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll include a few examples in the description of what I'm talking about, where and you could look through like posts that I've made on a bunch of forums, and I think Reddit's obviously the most popular one. I've always tried to if someone has a negative idea of right to repair or whatever, I try to think about it the same way that I think about when I'm dealing with a political issue that I immediately have a negative reaction to. I try to assume that the other person on the other end is thinking about it the same way that I am and approach it from that way, because I realize how easy it is to become ideologically possessed or ideologically aggravated when it comes to hot button political issues. And honestly, the last thing that I want to wind up doing is fucking over a movement that I think is actually a good movement because my name immediately has that type of connotation or that association with it, and that is unscrubbable from it regardless of anything you do. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. And as always, I hope you learned something, and hopefully 2021 is again, 2021 is either going to be one of the best years in history, or this is going to be the year that civilization went down the tubes. And I'm really hoping it leans towards best year in history, and I'd like for a small part of that best year in history to be actually making some progress on the right to repair stuff. So see you later.